Hey friends, this is Miss Ross going over tonight's homework. Remember, you're completing a page of your study guide every night to get you ready for a unit test on Friday. And this video will be going over the problem so that you can check your work and make sure you understand how to solve each problem. Remember, if you have any questions, come and talk to me in the morning or during math class so we can go over them and make sure that you're prepared for our test. All right, let's get started. Number 1, look at the number below and complete each section. We're going to be writing this number in standard form and expanded form. So let's look at the number. It says 624 and 32 hundredths. By this time, we've been doing decimals enough to know that when we see that and, that means we need a decimal point there. So I'm going to write the first part, 624. That's just my whole number, 624. And put that decimal in there, 32 hundredths. So I'm going to write the number 32, and I'm going to make sure it's in the hundredths place. So that's the tenths place and the hundredths place. So there we go, 624 and 32 hundredths. The next thing that we need to do is write it in expanded form. Remember, when we write expanded form, we do digit times value. So we're just going to take, each digit, and we're going to multiply it by its value. So that 6 is in the hundreds place. We put a plus sign. We're going to move to that 2, which is in the tens place. Close our parentheses, put a plus sign. We're going to go to the 4 in the ones place. Digit times value. Now we're going to move into our decimal numbers or our fractional numbers. So we're going to take that 3, and this time we're going to multiply it. It's in the tenths place, so we're going to show that as a fraction, 1/10. And last but not least, we've got that 2, and that's in the hundredths place, so we're going to multiply it by 1/100. And we have written that number in expanded form. The last part says, look at the number and write in expanded form below. So again, extra practice with expanded form. This time we're just looking at it in standard form, but we're still doing the same thing, the digit times its value. So that 7 is in the hundreds place, plus that 1, which is in the tens place, plus that 2, which is in the ones place. And then we move into our decimal or fractional numbers. So we've got that 1, but this one is in our tenths place. So we put a 1/10. And then last but not least, we've got that 8 in the hundredths place. So we're going to multiply that 8 times 1/100. And so there we go. Problem number 1 is all about reading and writing decimals. Let's look at problem number 2. Eric is baking a pie for the holidays. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of sugar. Eric only has a 5.5 or a half cup for measuring. How many times will he fill up his measuring cup to make the pie? So what is Eric doing? Well, he is needing 1 5/10 cups of sugar, but he can only get it with a 5/10 cup measuring cup. So he's going to have to split up that 1 5/10, and he's going to have to split it up into groups of 5/10. So this is a division problem. We're going to take 1 5/10, and we're going to divide it up into groups of 5/10. There's my little decimal point. It's kind of hard to see. So we can do this one of 2 ways. We can set up our partial quotients over here, 5/10. And we say, how many times does it go into 1 5/10? We take our hops out, hop out 1 time. If I hop once in my divisor, I have to hop once in my dividend. Now we're seeing how many times can 5 go into 15, and that's 3. 3 times 5 is 15. We subtract. We do not have a remainder. Do we put any hops in here? Well, let's check and see. I took 1 hop on the inside, 1 hop on the outside. My hops are even, so my answer is 3 times. We could have also drawn a picture. Here's my picture of 1 whole and 5/10. And if I need to split that up into 5/10, I could simply split that up like that and count them. And that's 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 5/10 and 1 and 5/10. Either way, we get our answer of B 3 times. Moving on down here to number 3, write in standard form. Standard form just means write the number. As I look at right here at this problem, this is what I see right there, that powers of 10. And so I say to myself, is that a power of 10 I see? Then all you got to do is listen to me. There's only one rule. That's not a lot. All you got to do is move that dot, multiply to the right, to the right, to the right, divide it to the left, to the left, to the left. So I'm going to move my decimal point to the left, and I'm going to move it to the left 2 times because this is the power of 10. So I'm going to take 2 hops. That's 1 and 2. I don't see any blank spaces, so I'm just going to write my new number, which is a 2 decimal point 4, 6, 9. And so my new number is 2 and 469 thousandths. I'm going to double check, make sure that I did this problem correctly. Did my number get smaller? Because if I am dividing, then my number should get smaller. Well, I started out with 246 holes, and now I have 2 holes. So my number definitely got smaller. So I'm pretty confident that I did that correctly. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 says that we're going to round the number to the nearest hundredths place. Hundredths place. So using our chant, we say find your place. That's my 5. Look next door. Is it 5 or greater? Yes, it's a 7. So we add 1 more. So that 5 is now going to become a 6. All digits in front stay the same. So we still have 8 decimal 2. All digits behind 0 is your name. So we turn that 7 into a 0. So we have 8 and 260 thousandths, or you could also have written that as 8 and 26 hundredths. Either of those would have worked. All right, we got to scroll down to get to number 5. There it is right there. It's another rounding problem. This time we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So again, find your place, look next door. 5 or greater? Nope, so we're not going to add anything, so that 2 stays a 2. All digits in front stay the same, so that's a 1 and a decimal. All digits behind 0 is your name. So this one rounded to 1 and 20 hundredths, or we could always take that 0 away because it's just a placeholder. So it's 1 and 2 tenths is another correct answer. Moving on to number 6 and 7. These are comparing. We're comparing our decimals. Remember, when we compare decimals, we line them up. It's the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to take 43 and 183 thousandths. And right underneath it, I'm going to write my other number, 43 and 813 thousandths. Now, they were trying to trick us with this. They got all the same digits, they're just in a different place. So I'm going to compare. Can I compare a 4 and a 4? No, they're the same. Can I compare a 3 and a 3? No, they're the same. Can I compare a 1 and an 8? Yes, 8 is bigger, so I know this must be my bigger number. Oops, what am I doing? There we go. All right, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say this is my bigger number, so I'm going to draw my less than sign. 43 and 183 thousandths is less than 43 and 813 thousandths. We're going to do the same thing with number 7. This time we have 296 and 8 tenths, and we're going to compare that with 296 and 85 hundredths. Don't forget, if you see a blank space, throw that 0 in. And when we throw that 0 in, we can tell very quickly, can't compare the 2s, can't compare the 9s, can't compare the 6, can't compare the 8s, but I can compare a 0 to a 5. And when I do that, I see that my bottom number down there is the larger number. So just as before, I'm going to draw the less than sign because 296 and 8 tenths is less than 296 and 85 hundredths. Last problem for tonight. Jane buys a hamburger for $2.75 and French fries for $1.50. If Jane pays with a $10 bill, how much change will she receive? So what is Jane doing? She's buying food and she's going to pay with $10. When she pays with $10, she's going to get some change back. So the first thing I need to figure out is how much money did Jane spend? Well, she bought a hamburger and French fries. So she spent $2.75 on a hamburger. She spent $1.50 on French fries. So I'm going to add those two up. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. We're going to carry that 1. We're going to bring that decimal point straight down. 2 plus 2 is 4. So she spent $4.25 on her hamburger and her French fries. But what we're trying to figure out is how much change she's going to receive. So now, what does she use? She uses $10. And she's going to be subtracting what she spent, $4.25. But I can't forget that when I line these up, I've got to put that decimal in. So now that I've got my decimal in, I can line up my numbers, line it at my decimal places, make sure all my place values are lined up. Now we're subtracting. So here we go. 0 minus 5, stop, regroup. We're going to go all the way over to that 1 in the tens place. We're going to regroup that 1, turn it into a 0. That 0 is going to become a 10. Now we can regroup that 10, so that 10 becomes a 9, and our next 0 becomes a 10. We're going to also regroup that 10, so now that 10 becomes a 9, and we can regroup that 0 to a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2, 9, 8, 7. Bring down that decimal point, and then 9 minus 4 is 5. And so how much change did Jane receive? Jane received $5.75, and I made sure to have my label on there. So there you have it, friends. That's tonight's homework. Hope you did well. Remember, if you have questions, come ask me tomorrow in class. See you then.